beginners or are not very conditioned. Okay, there's a certain between 400 and 800 cc's, whatever, recommended per hour. You know, but yeah, usually this is an affliction of someone who's not as conditioned and knows what they're doing. Yeah. Any other question or anything?
Oh, yeah, I have one more actually. When
you pay attention, see, this guy here is asleep. This one, he's people more. This joke.
Well, you're the young one, yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
When you said human beings are the most, I guess, have the most capacity.
Greatest,
is that
greatest
metabolically speaking, or
no? They're the greatest endurance athletes. I mean, they can outpace a camel. They can, you know, it's. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that they can run. They're not the fastest, right? But you know, we've tracked down deers and other animals. You know, it's because of our endurance. We're able to track them until they can't go anymore.
Or the animals are smart enough to stop when they get tired.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah, I mean, is part of that cognitive, like we can overcome and think that.
Yeah, you know, and our ability to adapt. You know what I mean? So our ability to adapt to stress and remodel and get stronger and so, but that's a known fact that humans are the greatest endurance mammals on the planet.
On that note, there's a really good book. If you it's a big, thick book. It will take you forever to get through, but it's Timothy Noakes, Dr. Noakes' Lore of Running. Has anybody ever read that book? I know Brady has. Yeah. And his definition of fatigue, he came up with this theory. It's called the central governor theory. And what I found fascinating, there's no real definition of what causes fatigue, or no real, you know, this is why your body fatigues. This is why you get tired. It's still relatively unknown. And his theory is your body has a central governor that basically says, look, stupid, you're doing damage to your body, I'm going to turn you down. It starts to turn your brain down. And that's why, you know, I tell athletes, you know, towards the end of the race when you're getting fatigued, that's when you have to most recognize your form and what needs to be going through your head other than, oh my God, I'm tired, this hurts, and you know, I got a finish line, there's a guy, it has to be your form, your running form, because your body is actually trying, his theory is that your body is actually trying to shut you down. So you come up with this struggle between your unconscious mind and your conscious mind, and that's his definition of fatigue, which is, I think is kind of fascinating that your body has this struggle going on, so that's probably, you know, why human beings are such good endurance athletes.
Anything else?
Yes. Focusing on the stretching, do you
Yes.
think that it is, so like, you know, you go to physical therapists and stuff with an injury, and the first thing they tell you to do is start stretching. You were saying how the football players, they went from...
Well, football, I mean, they were working on flexibility.
Okay.
They were becoming, it was just, I remember it like it was yesterday, it was in the early 80s, and there was
Lynn Swan and...
Yeah, they were just getting into, you know, so they had these ladies and with these big football players trying to get them more flexible. And you know, there's a certain muscle length relationship to be able to protect somebody, and these football players were in very, you know, dicey situations, and what they were finding was that they were so flexible that they were unable to protect and guard themselves, and so the injury rates just went up like crazy. And so anyway, that's kind of sort of what I was more referring to, more of this hyper flexibility.
Okay. Do you think for endurance athletes there is like I feel like sometimes when I stretch more, I end up like I'll go out for a long run and I'll come back and I'll have more little nagging things than.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people sometimes stretch cold muscles.
You can induce trauma when you stretch. You know, you've read the studies on, you know, stretching, static stretching before workout, how it can affect degrade performance.
Right. Yeah.
And what's the running coach here in Atlanta, the really famous one that I should know the name of? I'm drawing a blank. Galloway. He's in his talks, he doesn't believe in stretching at all. He just throws flexibility training out the window entirely.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, let me see. Because I don't stretch hardly at all.
But you do strength training, though.
But I do strength training because really a strong muscle is a flexible muscle, to be honest with you. Typically what we see if I'm examining a middle-aged guy is that one of the first signs of deconditioning is hamstring shortening. Someone has to sit for prolonged periods of time, etc. But usually I always say a strong muscle is a long muscle. It's a fast muscle. I haven't, and I have had really very minimal problems in stretching. If I get up and I have a soreness, I'll run first before I do any stretching and make it minimal, and I keep on running and I don't have a problem. don't believe in really stretching more muscles. I agree that overstretching can be a problem. It can actually weaken it. Probably one of my worst races is when I did this yoga class before a race, and I just felt like I was like this whole just going all over. This is not good. But
are there any studies that you're aware of that have shown that?
Well, the studies, actually what I mentioned earlier was really when they were looking at the military recruits. Many of the military recruits, as you can imagine, really were coming from just their regular walk of life. They weren't really trained athletes, so they were coming really with zero. And when they tested them, they found they had two groups. They tested the groups who had tight hamstrings. They put them in a group, and then they took the other group with tight hamstrings and actually conditioned them, stretching. And they found that this group who had the stretching conditioning actually had less risk for injury. Okay, so I look at it more, not necessarily stretching, but more strengthening is important. Okay.